The first electric HGV chargers are being installed in Exeter services. So what does this mean for the EV future when it comes to large haulage around the UK? Hello and welcome back to TQ Tesla. This is my channel where I'm just chit chat about all things EV, and I've been an EV driver for the past 5.5 years now, and I just absolutely love it driving them. There's absolutely no reason I would ever go back to driving a petrol or diesel car. And I do a lot of long journeys as well, up and down the country, so I know that there isn't an issue at all with long distance driving, especially now the charging network has got so good and the range of cars on average is higher than ever. But obviously one of the big things a lot of people said about was whether or not HGVs could ever be converted to electric. Yeah, maybe a car can, and small vehicles, maybe the odd van. But really, can it work for HGVs? After all, they're huge and they require way more battery power than what you're going to have put into a car. Well, things are certainly changing here in the UK. Right now, in Exeter services and another location, they are installing the UK's first hub of electric HGV chargers, and it's been done by GridServe. They just released a video the other day, and you can see them here in the video where they've got them all lined up in a row. This is really impressive to see, and it's not a big surprise that they've gone to Exeter as their first location, as it had that huge upgrade of its power, and it's kind of a testbed location for expanding EV chargers at services, and this was certainly part of that sort of long-term plan that they had even when they installed it about 1.5 to 2 years ago. Now, my dad is actually a HGV driver. He has been for many, many years. So this is something that I think he would be really interested in and seeing and maybe having a go with. Unfortunately, I don't think his company that he works for is going to be switching to electric HGVs anytime soon. But maybe things like this will change things. Maybe this will convince companies like that this is the way forward, as there are huge cost savings to doing this beyond, of course, the environmental benefits of switching to EV. Now, one thing that I thought was really interesting in the video that they mentioned was the fact that there isn't actually a standard yet set for HGVs. They, of course, can use CCS, but that can be placed on either side of the vehicle, much like with our cars, and that is really frustrating. One thing I had wished years ago when they sort of decided on the standards for EVs, I wish they could have set a standard on which side the port should be on. As a Tesla driver, it's really nice having a short cable to work with, being able to plug in the same location every single time. But when we drive in our Renault Zoe, it's annoying it's at the front, it's suddenly a different location, and it means that you have to think a bit more about how you approach a charger. And it obviously means a much more complicated process for installing when it comes to the charge point operators as well, because suddenly now they have to give you longer cables and they have to make sure that it's accessible in different places. That's especially true when it comes to HGVs, because obviously you can't just get a cable round the other side. So it looks like with the setup they've gone with here, they've done it so that effectively you can use either side for a charger. So where the dispensers look like they only have one cable each, so I'd imagine it's only going to be one per actual dispenser, but the driver will be able to sort of use whichever one is available. So because of that setup, they actually only have 4 charging bays but 9 chargers, which is slightly unusual and a slightly weird way of looking at it, but I get the purpose of it so that it can be accessed on either side. At this point, I guess it just makes sense as a quick solution to get around the issue of not having a set standard on all the trucks. But hopefully moving forward, there's a lot of talk about MCS being a standard where you can get up to 1 kilowatt power going into the trucks. Well, that will be a big game changer in terms of fast charging. And it's got a set side so that they can ensure that the chargers don't need to be kind of doubled up every single time. Now, speaking of that, there is a YouTuber, if you're into your sort of EV trucks, called Electric Trucker. He's a great YouTube channel going across Europe, and he really proves the point that even today, at least within Europe, that an electric truck is completely realistic. It's certainly a thing that can actually work. All the doubters out there that say it's not possible, well, he's proving that it's not an issue whatsoever. And for the most part, it doesn't really affect his day. He stops off and charges when he needs to have a break or when he has a quick stop, and it doesn't take any longer than he really needs to. Occasionally he does get caught out, but he's really pushing the boundaries of what these EV trucks can do. Whereas I don't think most truckers are going to have to worry about that. They're not going to be pushing the limits. They're just going to go the set routes that they do all the time. He made an interesting comment in one of his older videos, actually, where he feels that actually CCS is more than good enough. And I think this is something that we've learned a lot about EVs in general, that we think we need bigger batteries and that we need faster charging and that everything is got to be bigger and better and evolve each generation to make it more acceptable to more people. But I think that's very much a perception issue rather than actually a reality problem that we have when it comes to driving, whether it's EV cars or EV trucks. In reality, we have set routes that we do on a regular basis, and we occasionally do those longer journeys where perhaps those edge cases can be a bit of a problem. But finding kind of the medium average is more important. Finding that kind of average journey that you do all the time is a bigger factor than trying to come up with the ultimate solution that can do insane ranges or insane speed of charging. And that's what he's found with on his channel when he's been driving across Europe on these various EV trucks that all have, different size batteries and different ranges. But actually the CCS charges, even just using the ones that cars use, has been more than enough to get him by. It's not been a problem. In fact, he probably wouldn't need any more speed. The extra infrastructure and capacity that needs to go into installing MCS charges is not really worth it compared to the wide availability of CCS. The other big advantage of CCS, of course, is you've got these long bays where trucks can go through. It also means caravans can be going through them as well, or anyone pulling a trailer. Truck drivers like my dad aren't going to be happy about that. They don't like when it's summer season and everyone wants to park in the truck area of a service station, and certainly won't like it if they are also charging as well in there. But at least it makes more sense of getting more use out of an actual particular charger. So apparently they're installing 2 right now, and I'm definitely going to have a look at the one in Exeter as it's not too far from me. Maybe I'll share it on camera and see what they're up to. And then they've also got 5 more coming in the new year, so between Q1 and Q2. And I'm not sure where the turning point will be in terms of the number of chargers we need across the country. If you're a truck driver out there, I'd love your opinion on this. If you're someone who's really intrigued by getting an electric truck and driving around the country, what point do you think it's going to be workable? Obviously, if you can charge from your depot and you have full charge as you leave, that's going to massively help with the options that you can do. But like my dad's a long distance lorry driver, he's up and down the country, stays in different places around the country, so he can't go back to his depot every night and charge up. And in a case like that, I think that's where actually trucks will be more complicated than EVs to actually accommodate for. With EVs, most of us are going from home to work or on our trip, whatever, and then back again. Even if we're doing a really long journey, it's only very occasionally, maybe once a month at most. And in those journeys, it's probably only one way that you're going to need to do that charge en route, unless you really are traveling up and down the whole country. But with trucks, there's a higher chance that they're going to leave the depot on Monday and then all week they'll be out on the road, and they might not return back to home at any point until the end of the week, in which case they're going to have a much bigger problem charging out on the road compared to most cars. They're going to need more of them, even though they do have the availability each night to go and charge up. So maybe that's the solution. Maybe we just need a lot of sort of 50 kilowatt chargers where trucks can park up and charge up overnight over sort of rapid chargers that can get them up and running much quicker. I'm really excited about all this progression, and looking at Electric Trucker, he really has shown how quickly it has developed across the EU. And sadly, we are lacking behind here in the UK. There's been a lot of good focus on EVs, and it's getting very good now. But definitely in the trucking world, it's still far behind. But maybe we're going to catch up very quickly. Maybe this is the turning point. The trucks are now coming out. They are there. We're not waiting on sort of vaporware or promise of this futuristic truck with insane range, insane charging speeds. No, It's just kind of taking trucks that we already had and upgrading them. It's taking designs and evolving them rather than starting from a clean scratch and doing everything completely new. And that's all it needs to be. It just needs to be functional, and it needs to just work for the actual end users. So do you think EV trucking is a realistic thing here in the UK? How many chargers up and down the country do you think we really need to make it work? And do you think we're going to see that transition very quickly? Do you think there's going to be resistance from the trucking world? Because they are quite traditional in that world, and I can see them feeling unsure about giving up on their big diesel trucks anytime soon. If you like this video, make sure you like and subscribe, as I do plenty of these where I just chit chat to camera with my thoughts on the EV world.